it's a remarkable time because we're enjoying a $21.5 billion operating surplus, record reserves, bond ratings increased twice in the last year, 119 consecutive months of net job growth. The state's averaged 3.8% GDP over the last 5 years. And it's not my state of state. But I need to say that because the state of our state has been highlighted in the national news and in your consciousness, that it's a state on fire. It's a state that has the largest utility in the United States of America, PG&E, that's in bankruptcy because of the fires. If any of you still are confused by science and still don't believe in climate change, come to California. Mother Nature has joined the conversation. The hots are getting hotter, the dries are getting drier, the wets are getting wetter. We just came out of a 5-year drought, 3 of the worst fire seasons in California history during that period of time, the one that generated a lot of national consciousness and attention appropriately was the Camp Fire. Brought President Trump out there. We're grateful for his visit. 18,804 structures were lost just in that one fire. 85 human beings lost their lives. Year before, we had the Tubbs Fire that also generated enormous amount of news attention. 23 lives lost, 7,492 structures lost in that fire. All of you are paying the price for that. All of you generously have helped support our efforts on debris removal and FEMA support. Many of you around this room, quite literally, I look at 4 governors that were kind enough to send us a lot of resources in the last fire season, which is really now a fire cycle year-round. But in the peak of our season, you were generous enough to send mutual aid from all across the country, from obviously places closer to home like Oregon and Washington State, but as far away as Montana, where we were seeing assets brought bear. We are sharing assets, you may have seen, in Australia. We lost one of our C-130 training planes that we sent over for the fire suppression efforts in Australia. That tragically, that plane crashed. Gives you a sense of the mutuality as it relates to this and what's happening not just in the United States and western part of the states, but also around the rest of the world. So we're trying to meet this head on. We got a bankrupt utility. We're trying to get out of bankruptcy, but they're feeling the pressure of trying to underground and harden 150,000 miles of overhead wire. And they're operating conditions the likes of which they never could have imagined a decade or 2 ago. We got 1,000 miles of coast. I grew up in San Francisco. We mark literally a century ago, 8 inches, the sea level rise just in the last century. We expect that to increase exponentially into the new century, losing our beaches, 150 million trees that have died in the state of California because of the drought. And obviously the impacts in the economy are pretty severe, particularly as an ag state. So we have all the same audacious goals. We're all 100% here, 100% there. We're all competing in that, but we're really now in the how business. And we got to apply those goals. We got to implement our strategies. And one of the areas that I just want to offer, and I try to be brief because I'm sensitive to time, is our fully functioning cap and trade program has provided some $8.6 billion of investments that have allowed us to drive innovation, drive technology solutions, and drive strategies. Our policies have really accelerated investments and economic opportunities in this space. California, as a large oil-producing state, now has 5 times as many green tech jobs as we do fossil fuel jobs. We're proof of that paradigm. It's no longer an and, or rather an or. It's clearly an economic imperative for us to move in this direction and transition to low-carbon green growth. But the most exciting thing we're doing, at least from my humble perspective this year, is we're getting our pension system, all $700 billion in our 2 large pension systems, to start aligning investment strategies in our climate resiliency frame. And that is a very meaningful thing. That's an opportunity to truly move markets. I put $1 billion in this year's budget up for a climate catalyst fund. What was interesting about doing that, immediately generated interest from the Gates Foundation and others that are looking to potentially partner with the state of California to provide additional resources to really catalyze an innovation construct and mindset in the state. It's a long way of saying this. From the ashes that we have quite literally been working our way through, tremendous opportunities present themselves in this space, but the imperative of meeting this moment is profound. And I just hope we can move past the, this dialectic back and forth, and folks can start to wake up to this reality in a more meaningful and systemic way. And as I said, we're going to need all the help and all the partnerships we possibly can get. And I think this is, in closing, very exciting, because just to hear Governor Mills, Governor, you guys talking about the best practices, this is a kind of enlightened competition, and I think significant opportunity for all of us, particularly at NGA, to start sharing a collaborative spirit, regardless of party, to really push through an agenda that we all can be proud of. So I thank you guys for your leadership, and Governor Hogan, thanks for having this opportunity to dialogue.